a new topic, which is job costing. Job costing. So earlier, when we started cost counting, we looked at cost methods. Is that not it? And then under cost methods, we have job costing, contract costing, process costing, etc. Okay, we will be taking them one after the other. But our focus for today will be on job costing. Okay, all right. So let's look at our lesson overview. We're looking at a definition of job costing, characteristics of job costing, and then calculation job costing. Then our learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain job costing, state and explain the characteristics of job costing, and then prepare a job cost sheet. So these are our objectives for today. First and foremost, let's look at the definition for job costing. Job costing, it is a cost method that is applicable where work is done according to the customer's specification. So job costing is a cost method that is applicable where work is done according to customer's specification. So some example, for instance, you are about to have a birthday party and you want to share some invitation cards. Okay, you like to invite your friends. So you went to the press for them to design a card for you. Usually, you are going to tell them what should be written on the card and also how the card should be designed. You get it? So at the end of the day, they are supposed to design a card according to the way you want it. Okay? So that's just an example of job costing. So here the focus is that you are telling them what to do. And usually, job costing is of a short duration. Okay? Job costing is also of a short duration. So let's look at some characteristics of job costing. Characteristics of job costing. One, we say that major costs are direct costs to the job. Okay, so it means that most of the costs can directly be traced to the job done. Okay, so at the end of the design, when the card is ready, at least you can directly trace the amount of money that you spent on the card. Okay, so you realize that for job costing, most of the costs are direct costs. That's what they're talking about. Then two, jobs are separately identified and different from each other. Okay, so do not forget, you may go in for a birthday party invitation card. Someone may also go in for a wedding invitation card, and he or she's design will be different from your design. You get it? So here they are telling us that jobs are separately identified and different from each other. Okay, we are having different, we all have our likes and dislikes. Okay, so what I may want wouldn't be what Kojo may want. So one of the characteristics of job costing is that jobs are different from each other. Okay, and once they are different from each other, they are easily identified. Okay, separately from each other. Then the third one, we are saying that cost is ascertained for each job separately. Cost is ascertained for each job separately. So you want a birthday invitation card. Okay, at the end of the day, what that will cost you will be given to you. Okay, because you are the one who ordered for it. At the end of the day, you are supposed to bear that cost as an individual. You get it? The person also who ordered for a wedding invitation card, or you can even be the same person who ordered for another card, which is a wedding invitation card. By the end of the day, they identify the jobs separately. So at the end of the day, they'll tell you, okay, for the wedding invitation card, this is the amount. And then for the birthday invitation card, this is also the amount. Then you can do the summation yourself. So under job costing, we do not combine the jobs together. That is not done under job costing. Okay? Each job is separately ascertained for. So these are the three major characteristics of job costing. Major costs are direct costs to the job. Jobs are separately identified and different from each other. Cost is ascertained for each job separately. That is it. Yeah, Dudoja, welcome. Any question? Today our focus is on job costing, and we've just started. Okay, so we look at the definition for job costing and then the characteristics. Any question before we proceed? All right. If there's no question, then we'll proceed. Okay. When we're looking at the characteristics, we realize that cost is ascertained for each job. Okay, that is what we've been told, that cost is ascertained for each job. So this is how to go about the ascertainment of cost. That's calculation of cost. Okay, at the end of the day, it ought to be presented in a particular way. This is the format, okay? So we call it the job cost sheet. The job cost sheet. This is just like the cost sheet that we looked at earlier on some time ago, okay? All right. So we'll be looking at the format. So we have direct material. So you can realize that here, two separate columns have been created, okay? So the first column, you can decide to do your sub calculation there, then you send the final figure to the last column, okay? That is, so usually we create two columns. Now, the first item, we have direct material. You can realize that per the format, it means that they're having two different types of materials here. We have material XY and then material AB. Okay, so it depends. There are some questions where you may be given just one material, where one material is being used to produce that particular product, okay, or to complete a particular job. Okay, so in case there are two, you first do the sub calculation at the first column here, as you can see. So direct material XY, then you insert the figure AB. This is it. You sum up these two. Whatsoever you get, you send it to the last column, which is this. Okay. That is that for direct material. Okay. When it happens that there is only one material, then you can decide to send the figure straight to the last column. Okay. If assuming you have only one material that is being used, you have to send that figure to the last column. Okay. All right. Then from there, we move on to direct wages. Direct wages. So you realize that they are dealing with, they are paying two different people. They belong to two different departments. Okay. All right. So with that also, for A, you have to record that figure. Then for B, you do the same. You sum these two up, then you send the final figure to the last column. Okay. All right. Then the third item, we have direct expenses. So for the direct expenses, it's only one. Okay. So you have to send the total figure or the cost to the last column. So you realize that in the last column, you have the total for direct material, direct wages, direct expenses. Now, you will have to sum them up now, okay? And we know that the summation of direct costs, that is direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, will give us prime cost. Okay, so we sum up these three, then we record our total. Then you don't just leave it there, you need to label the total, which is prime cost. Okay, all right. Class, I'll make room for any question if there need be before I proceed. We are still on the format or how the job cost sheet looks like. All right. Then let's proceed.
Sir.
Yeah, Loloja. From there, we move on to our overheads. Move on to our overheads. And you know, usually after the calculation, after prime cost, the next thing is to identify your factory overheads, right? Okay, that is it. So our variable overheads. Usually we have variable overheads and fixed overheads. Okay, variable overheads, fixed overheads. Okay, so here we have for A and B. So just as we've been doing the sub calculations, we will have to record them separately. So for A, this is each figure, and then for B, this is the total figure. After that, we sum both figures up. Okay, we sum them up. Then when we get the total, we send it to the last column. Okay, we send it to the last column. Now, we will have to sum up our factory overheads and our prime costs. We sum up our factory overheads, which has been divided into fixed and variable. You get it? We sum it up. When that is done, you arrive at a figure. So you realize that when you sum up the prime cost and then the variable overheads, when you sum these two up, we are getting this. Now, there is a name for that figure also, and that is the production cost or the product cost. Okay, that is the product cost. All right. Then now, you agree with me that does not end there, because there are other costs in the organization that are being incurred. Okay, so now we have our administration costs. Okay, we have our administration costs. We have our selling and distribution costs also, which is here. Okay, and we already know the meaning of all these type of costs. You sum these two up. That's you sum up your administration costs, and then you sum up your selling distribution cost. When that is done, you send a total to the second column, just as we've been doing for the previous ones. Okay, as far as calculation is concerned, we do that. We send it to the last column. Okay. All right. So we sum up our administration costs, selling and distribution costs. Okay, together. To arrive at our total cost, we sum it up with our product cost. Okay, our product cost. This is our product cost. You get it? So this is our product cost. I'll make room for questions before I move on. All right. So now we've arrived at our total cost. And you agree with me that we are in business for profit. So we need to add our profit margin to the total cost. Okay. So the profits will be added. It can be a percentage on total cost, or it can be a markup or margin. Yeah, anyway, however the question for, you do that for them. Then finally, summing up our profits and our total cost, then we will arrive at our selling price. So selling price is the final item. Okay, so this is how the cost sheet looks like. Okay, all right. So if there is no question, then we will have to take a question and then solve it appropriately. Okay. All right. So this is a question before us. So direct materials, 360. Direct labor costs. So we have two different production departments. Okay. So we have production department X, 10 hours at $5. Production department Y, 6 hours at $6. Then direct expenses, we have $50. The following additional information is extracted from the company's budget. Production department X, variable overheads $1,500, direct labor hours is 500 hours. Production department Y. Our variable overhead is 1,800, and then direct labor hours is 400 hours. Our fixed overheads was $1,890. The expected profit was 20% of total cost. Prepare a cost sheet. That is the requirement. You're supposed to prepare a cost sheet. All right. So, all right. So our prime cost is 496. We arrive at that. Our direct material from the question is $360, right? Our direct labor cost for production department X is 10 hours at $5. So you have to multiply that, right? When you multiply that, we are getting 50. Production department Y, we were told 6 hours at $6. When we multiply that, we are getting $36. So you see, there are two. So we did a sub calculation here, then we set the total figure here. Okay. Then from there, we realize from the question that our direct expenses is 50. So this is the 50. When this three is summed up, we will get a total of $496. Okay, so that is how come we arrive at that answer. For our variable overheads, there are certain workings that ought to be done. Okay, so these are the workings that ought to be done. From the question, we were told that our budgeted variable overhead for production department X is 1,500 hours. And then our budgeted direct labor hours is 500 hours for production department X. So what we need to do is that we divide the 500 by the 1,500 to get the rate per hour. Okay? So this is just a projection that they've made. Are you getting it? So we will have to calculate to find the rate per hour. And when that is done, we are getting 3 CD to be the rate per hour for production department X. Please, did you get it? When that is done, we are getting the rate per hour for production department X. Okay. Then now, to find the actual labor cost for production department X, we will need to use this rate and then multiply it by the number of hours that has actually been spent on the job. Okay. So now, let's move back. You realize that in the question, for under labor, this is all under labor, right? So under labor, production department S, they spent 10 hours on the job. Okay, 10 hours on the job. And then we've calculated for the labor rates, which is 3 Ghana cedis per hour. So to find the labor costs that have been incurred by production department X, we will have to multiply this rate, which is $3 per hour, by the total hours that has been spent on the job, which is 10 hours. Okay, so we are multiplying 10 hours by the 3 Ghana cedis that we have calculated for. And that will give us 30 Ghana cedis. Okay. So just as we calculated for the absorption rate for production department X and got 3, you have to do same for production department Y. Okay, so the variable overheads incurred for that period is 1,000 incurred. That's the budgeted. Okay, it's 1,800. Then the direct labor hour or hours is 400. That's all they projected. Okay, so when we divide the hours by the total cost, we are getting $4.50 per hour. So that's the rate per hour. So to find the total labor hour cost, we will have to multiply the rate by the total hours that have been incurred by production department Y. Okay, and for production department Y, it's 6 hours. So we are going to multiply 6 hours by $4.50. When that is done, we are getting $27. Okay. All right. From there, we sum up these two. That is the cost for production department X and then that of production department Y. When that is done, we are getting $57. $57. Okay, so that is it. That is that for the variable overheads. Now, we will have to calculate for a fixed overheads. Let's move back to the question again. You realize that in the questions, we were told that fixed overheads was $1,890. $1,890. Okay, so here they've not given us the hours. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to sum up all the hours. That's the direct labor hours for production department X, and then the direct labor hours for production department Y. Okay, so this is how it will look like. Let's look at the workings. We have the fixed overhead, as we can see, is 1,890. When we sum up the direct labor hour for production department X and Y, that will be what? 400 plus 500. 400 plus 500 will give us 900. Okay, 900. So now we've gotten the total. Okay, for the direct hours, that's for X and Y. We've gotten the total now. We divide that total by the cost that has been given to us, which is 1,890. Okay. Now, when that is done, we are getting $2.10 per hour. Right? That is what we will arrive at figure, which is $2.10 per hour. Now, getting that, we also need to go back to sum up the production department X hours, which is 10, and then the production department Y hours, which is 6. Okay, do not forget that when we're about to find the cost, the labor cost for production department X, after finding the rate, we move back and then multiply the rate, which is 3, by the 10 hours here. Okay, the 10 hours that has been given to us in the question. So the same way, to find the total fixed figure, what you need to do is that you sum up the total hours that has been spent on the job. The total hours that has been spent on the job. What we do is that we sum both up. So that will be 10 plus 6 hours. So 10 plus 6 hours will give us 16 hours. 10 plus 6 hours will give us 16 hours. Okay, so now we multiply 16 hours by our $2.10. When that is done, we are getting a total of 33.60. 33.60. So now we find our fixed overhead cost. Okay. Per the format, the next thing is that we sum this up to give us the product cost or the production cost. But in this question, there are no administration nor selling overheads. Okay, so summing up our prime costs, our variable and fixed overhead costs automatically give us our total cost. Okay, so now we are summing up our prime cost, which is 496, our variable overheads, which amounted to $57, and then our fixed overheads, which amounted to $33.60. Okay, and that will give us $586.60. All right. Please, any question before I proceed? Okay. So now, in the question, let's go back to the question. We were told in the information that the expected profit was 20% of total cost. The expected profit was 20% of total cost. Okay. So now we are supposed to find 20% of our total cost. Okay. So we are finding 20% of $586.60. All right. So when that is done, and I know you have your calculators there, so you can also do it. 20% of this amount will give us $117.32. So 117. All right. So to get a selling price, we sum up our total cost and then our profit. Okay. So this is our selling price, and that's the end of the solution. Okay. So this is how a typical question on job costing ought to be presented. Okay. All right. Dodoja, any question so far? Any question? All right. Okay. Well, if there is no question, what we'll do is that I will go back and let's summarize our work for today. Then I'll give you an assignment. Okay? All right.